Now, Melanie, were you born and raised in Arizona?
I wasn't. So I was born in Utah, but lived in Phoenix as a baby and then lived in California for a while. And then Seattle is where I spent a lot of time growing up.
And your mom unfortunately passed away when you were young, right?
Yeah, so my mom got really sick a couple years after having me. She almost died having me. She had a deep vein thrombosis, blood clot, and the Cox side doesn't really have great genes. There's a lot of, my grandpa's had cancer and blood clots, and initially when we heard about, I believe my grandfather was told by the police that Alex, they had thought that he had a lung clot was the reason for his death initially. So that's what we thought this whole time, that, it kind of runs in the family, and that makes sense. But yeah, I think my parents had a rough time when my mom got really sick with type 1 diabetes, also with gastroparesis. She couldn't have the ability to absorb nutrients, and she was in and out of seeing doctors and in and out of hospitals, and I think it was hard on my dad. I know there was some infidelity on his part, and they tried to work through things, and they just couldn't make it work. And I spent a lot of time in the Cox home. So Barry and Janis, my grandparents, they lived in California, and I lived with them for a while, and my mom was sick, and I remember my dad traveling a lot for his job, and my mom finally felt like she was healthy enough when we moved to Seattle, where my dad got a job there. And it was just me, my mom, and my dad. My mom couldn't have any more kids, and I was kind of their baby. And when I was 6, my dad I remember, that's about as far back as I can remember, is the night my dad took me, and he said we were going to go get gas, and we never came back. We left my mom there, and he turned the power off. He took all of her credit cards, he took her planner, and just left her there. And she was really sick to the point she couldn't really take care of herself. And we hid out in a hotel for a couple months. And then from then on started a nasty custody battle between them. And, as when you're little, I just remember just being quiet, not really understanding what was going on. And I don't remember what went on in the court process. I just remember not seeing my mom a lot, and she fought as much as she could, and I think she got so sick, ran out of money, and things just weren't, just in her case. And I grew up with just, my dad, and then later my stepmom when my dad got remarried, and I heard all manner of things about the Coxes, and my dad kind of cut off communication with them. And these were people I grew up with, and I knew they were good people, and I loved them. And it didn't feel right, a lot of the lies I was being told about them. But my mom later passed away when I was 9. Lori was the one that called and told me the news. She said, your mom's in a coma, and she's probably not going to make it. And I remember that phone call, and I've always loved and trusted Lori. She's always been somebody that is just so much unconditional love on her end, no judgment, no drama, and I admire her so much. And I don't think I would have wanted to have that phone call by anybody else to have to give me that news. And I remember flying up with my dad. He took me to see my mom last time in hospice. She was out, and she didn't come out of her diabetic coma. There was no, it wasn't a surprise. My mom was always very sick and on the line of, we don't know how long Stacey's going to last. And after age 9, and my mom passed, my dad didn't let me talk or see any of that side of the family. And I didn't know why, other than he was saying all sorts of things about them. And finally, when I was 15, I found my Uncle Adam on a radio. I think I Googled him. We had computers at high school, and I found him, and he was one of my favorite people in my life that I remember growing up. And then it kind of started connecting all those ties that I had gone so long from age 9 all the way to 15 without. And it's like we jumped right back into it. And for all those years, they didn't have me, and they tried sending packages, and my dad would return them, and I never understood why. I just felt something off in my heart. But no judgment or resentment on, why my dad did the things he did, but I wish to this day he would, just say it for what it is, just be real about it, because that's how we grow. We go through these experiences, and Ian and I that's the most important thing to us. Like, we're not perfect. I'm terrible about being nervous on, national television. I'm trying to get better at it, and it's hard to see all the comments people say about you, but we're trying to just be real and be open about everything now.
So was it kind of like Lori raised you after your mom passed?
Mainly my grandma Janice. Lori was young and kind of, busy with her life, but she'd take me and go do fun things, and also my Aunt Summer, and my Uncle Adam and I wasn't super close with Alex. I didn't ever get his jokes. He's a comedian, and I just was always like, it probably takes me a minute to process, like longer than most people, and so I would never really like connect as much with Alex as I did with Adam or Lori. But yeah, they were so important in my life, and to not have that growing up and have that confusion of, what happened and why did things go south. And up until 3 years ago, I didn't know that my dad had been telling everybody this other side of, hey, your mom died of anorexia, and, she was mentally ill, and, basically made himself look like the hero. I took you away from her, and I knew that didn't feel right, and I was like, kind of in shock that everybody in the whole world thinks that she died of anorexia, and she's not here to tell her story. And I have all of her medical records and all the court documents, and it's hard seeing the same patterns of what happened to my mom now happened in my life, where my kids are taken away from me wrongfully, and things are said about me that aren't true, but I know my kids know who I am. And my own father is helping my ex-husband right now, and they've had my kids at their house and don't tell me, and I just have bullying text messages from my dad, and that's upsetting. I feel like you should love your kid no matter what. If all these false claims, if they were even true, if they really thought I was some crazy and in a cult and had done something horrible, shouldn't they just reclaim me with kindness as their daughter and love me anyways? But the fact that these things aren't true, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't have, a good relationship right now where I feel like I can keep them close in my life right now. I'm kind of just loving them from a distance and letting everything play out. And I don't judge anyone for all the things that they're scared of or confused about, because this case is heavy, and it's unlike anything. I never thought this would be our lives. Like, it's unreal.
I do want to ask you, there have been other reports about your mother's death, that somehow Lori may have been tied into it, or whatever's killing all these other people. Your mom may have been the first victim. Can you address that?
Yeah, she died of natural causes. It's on her death certificate. But she had type 1 diabetes, and with gastroparesis with that, like she went to every type of doctor. She even went and, went to, I think she got tested for eating disorders, for everything she got tested for. And it was so clear what she had. It was so far from anorexia. It was a total manipulation of, she's tiny and can't absorb nutrients. And he took us and ran with the story of that. And it's hurtful and it's untrue. And she's not here to tell that truth. And, reading through court documents, there's so many things he could have said, because we're real and open about our family and we make mistakes. He could have said, true things, but it was mostly just lies about everything. And that's similar to what's happening in my family court case. It's the same pattern. And I think we go through these things to learn and experience, and seeing that same exact thing happen now in my life, it's too ironic that it's the same exact patterns.